Okay. What's up, everybody? This is the third night of working on this DS Lite rebuild. And I gotta tell you, I'm sure a lot of people would find this frustrating, but I've really been enjoying this. I've made so many mistakes, I believe, on this build, and I've been able to correct them all so far. So, the first mistake we made was taking that aftermarket screen and oh, let me turn some lights on here. We're not focused. There we go. First mistake we made, or I made, was putting on that aftermarket screen that was just bare metal and it had to have touched the board. And what that did is it blew out. Let's switch over to our microscope. It ended up blowing out a fuse that's right under the battery terminal connection. That fuse is the one marked with an F. This guy right here. So we basically just learned how to check continuity with a multimeter, and just we could tell that it wasn't getting any beep from the continuity tester. So it was basically just a blown out fuse connection. This is my very first, I'd almost say, actual micro soldering job that I've ever done. You know, I've replaced pins, I've replaced, you know, charging ports, Joy-Con or joysticks, stuff like that, no problem. This is the first thing that I could barely see with my eyes that I was able to actually solder on. So I was pretty stoked about that. It was a great learning experience. I'm super stoked to see that I was able to bring this thing back to life after screwing it up. And we ended up getting the build almost to the finish line on the second night, but we ended up noticing that the Type-C charging port wasn't charging the battery. So I was wondering if I blew out another fuse and just didn't catch it. This one ended up being really simple. The charging port itself, the way I get these, they almost seem like they're slightly not aligned correctly. It's almost like the pads on the back. Well, it's not really pads. It's the solder points on the back. Let me zoom out. See if we can get all that in the camera view. Yeah, these points on the back, especially these four right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those don't align with the chip on the other side completely. It's almost like they're staggered upwards a little bit more. So I'm only getting what seems like maybe a third of a connection on those pads, just so I could align these two sides properly. So I pulled this board off, I realigned it better and resoldered it down, and I did that off stream. I just, this third night, I didn't want to go past this third night. I really wanted to show that we're going to complete this thing tonight. And hopefully luck is with me and we don't make any more mistakes. If we do, I'm not giving up. We'll get it figured out. I'm not worried about it. But I think tonight's the night we're actually going to finish this build. When we plug this in for charging, these LEDs are the ones that should be lighting up over here. Let's see if that'll focus in. Not both of them, but one of them will light up. I think it's the bottom one. So let's just double check, make sure that's working. I'll grab a charging cable. We'll slap a battery onto this real quick. And we'll make sure we get an LED. And there we go. There's the LED right there. So that's great. That's what I learned from this too. It probably wasn't working in the beginning. I should have tested the charger and not just assumed it was working. So that was my mistake there. Next time I do one of these, before I move on to anything else after the solder's done, we're going to test that LED and make sure it's up and running. So definitely a learning experience. But everything else was working besides the charging at the end of the night on night 2. So I'm feeling good about this. Let's go ahead and continue this build. If this thing finishes tonight and we can boot off cartridges, all the buttons work, I'll probably end the night doing a DS Pico that we can run in this DS Lite. We'll put a couple games that I own on there, and if I sell this thing, I'll sell it with the DS Pico, no games included, because I'm not pirating for people. That's just my own personal choice. You know, it's made for you to put your own backups on, or whatever you choose to do after you purchase it. That's none of my business. But don't condone pirating, though. So we'll put on the Wi-Fi chip after we get the cable routed through there, but we do have to get the screen on. The bottom screen is over here. I'll have to get this cleaned up before we seal everything. That's fine. So let's put the ribbon cable in. And as you can see, I put some, what is it, Teflon tape on there. It's usually supposed to help protect sensitive parts from heat, but it also serves as a barrier for the metal contacts that would be hitting the board. And we did test that and had it all running, made sure it was put together at that time, and we got no more shorts. So I believe that's what the problem was. Not 100%, but I think it's a pretty good deal that that's what it was. Still, after unplugging and plugging this screen in multiple times, it's a tight fit with this aftermarket screen, which is fine. It's not going to come out, I don't think. It is 9:24 at night, and somebody is out there with like a weed whacker or something. I don't know if that's coming through on my stream, but I think my girlfriend's watching. She's probably wondering what the fuck's going on too. I don't know if it's a weed whacker or somebody's like little. It's not a high-end motorcycle, that's for damn sure. There we go. That's seated. I'm going to try and get this touchscreen cable in before we mount everything. And I hate this touchscreen cable, how it flexes and bends. I didn't have this problem with the last one that I bought, so I'm not sure why this one's being weird. It sticks out too much. That's all right though. See if we can get this pre-pressed in here. All of our membranes are still in place, which is great. Okay, our speaker cable fell under, but that's all right. We'll see if we can pull that out real quick. Ah, shit. Okay, forgot one. Let's got the top screen cable. The one that's the biggest pain in the ass. Okay, let's get that top screen cable in. Come on. Go down. There we go. Felt that click into place. That's great. Okay, now let's try and get all this in place. Okay, everything's seated. Let's just see if we can get the microphone cable in. There we go, that's down. That's all looking good. Let's go ahead and get the motherboard screwed down. As I always say, don't tighten these down with your hands, just kind of finger tighten it as loose as you can until it stops. That's all you need. Good. And Whoops. Don't forget about this cable. It's got to be routed right above the white cables. Okay, just lift that up slightly. There we go. Now I can press it down again. Okay. So now we want to get this under the cartridge slot. This is the Wi-Fi antenna. Just slides under there. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get through sometimes. Usually have the best luck when I try and straighten the cable out as much as I can. Let's see. Might actually see if I can get this. I need a taller microscope or a different microscope mount. I'm actually going to be looking into that. The type of desk I have, I can't really do one of those clamp styles on this desk. But I can do a flange style. So I'm going to see if I can get one of those arm mounts for the microscope. That way I can actually put it in front of my face and do some micro soldering. But then I can actually lift the scope higher, you know, get bigger things under it if I need to. I just need a flange mount so I can adjust it easily on this desk. Sorry, not adjust it easily, just mount it easily. Apologize if I jumble up my words. It's been a long month with this move. I should hopefully be done moving in the next week or so. I'll definitely be out by the 31st, but it's my girlfriend's and my 4 years together, so we're finally moving in, trying to make a life together. I'd almost make a joke that I think she'd laugh that we're failing miserably but having a good time at it at the same time. Ugh, this thing just does not want to give. I almost use the same motto in my relationship that I do with this. And just have fun failing, and then I just get better at it. She'd probably tell me to give myself more credit, but I always make jokes. Okay, come on. Let's get through that. Last time I was able to get the cable partway through. It's funny because I can see... No, that isn't it. Maybe it is. I imagine they run this cable through first and then just solder down the cartridge slot over it. But I've seen too many people just shove this through. I haven't quite learned the secret to it yet, but I'm getting there. No, that did not make it through like I wanted it to. And that is stuck. All right, I'm going to start up the soldering iron just in case, because we are not going to let this defeat us tonight. I'll keep trying to wiggle it out and through. But we will slightly bend up this this cartridge slot if we have to. I'm not even worried about it. Yeah, it's not quite there. Let's see what we got. Come on. Yikes. I felt it lift just a little bit, so let's see if that was enough to get this thing untangled. There we go. If I can help it, I don't really want to lift this entire cartridge slot off. That just does not sound like fun. So I'm going to keep trying with this. Yeah, there we go. Jesus. Okay. Let me see if I can get this flat again. Come on, you can do it. Come on, heat up. Okay, I got that side flat. The other side does not want to heat up that well, though. Because this whole thing's a heat sink. You got it? Almost. There we go. All right, so all I did was slightly lift this cartridge up on this side. I mean, I'm talking about a millimeter or two, not much. That helped me get the cable through, and then I just heated up the solder, pressed it down, and it's flat again. The only thing I did is I may have nicked the soldering iron on the plastic right there a little bit. Nothing too bad. Let's see. Yeah. There we go. Tiny, tiny bit. No damage to the ribbon cable though, just still worth it. It'll go back together just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the Wi-Fi chip on. I want to check something here. Um, okay, that's fine. Sorry, just checking on my stream, making sure it's actually working right. Okay, Wi-Fi chips in. Let's go ahead and press the Wi-Fi cable in. You know, my whole career, I've always had the best luck just getting this thing lined up properly and then just giving it a little bit of a wiggle. I'm not applying a whole ton of pressure on this. There we go. Okay. So that's all bolted down. Let's what should we do here? Tuck in that cable. All right, so we got our right button with spring and rod. Last time I just put the rod in first. Grab the tweezers. And aligned the spring the correct way into this and then set it down on the rod. After that, we take the spring and position it into its cradle. Sometimes it takes a couple tries, but that's all right. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on this side. Put the rod in. Grab the spring. Align the spring into the tab. Sorry, trigger. Place it. And then set the spring. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and put the backing on. So what we want to do is make sure we have our volume all the way over to the left right now. So let's make sure the volume's all the way over to the left here. And then the power button needs to be aligned all the way to the bottom. You do not want to press down on this too hard. It should just kind of fall into place. There we go. And before we screw everything down, let's go ahead and... Oh, I lost this last stream, the Cameron Sino battery. It was on the damn floor. Black side up, just blended into my green, black, and white carpet that I have underneath me. So, I'll tell you what we're going to do is we're actually going to put in one screw. And that is the... why can't I think of the name? Phillips head. Wow. We'll put in the one Phillips head screw here in the upper right-hand corner. That way, if this all works like I expect it to, we don't have to pop the battery back out. All right, so we'll open it up. And the power button didn't align. It went in. I don't know why. There we go. So that's good. One screw that we have to undo. And let's try and realign that power. Oh, no. There we go. Let's test the volume button. Volume button's working. Power button actually springs back and forth. Okay. Test the power button next time before you close it. This is the third DS Lite that I've taken apart. Second one that I've attempted to put back together. Most challenging one so far. Got a green light. Upper screen works. Bottom screen works. Very cool. Let's plug in the charger, make sure that works. Sorry if that green light's hard to see. You can see it a little bit right there. Plug in the charger, and we have green and orange. There we go. So I'm super happy with that. Looks like we're about to have two working DS lights. We have some minor details that we still need to do on this, but that is quite all right. We'll get through them. Okay. So we switched over to our tri-wing. I'm going to get the opposite corner here. Let's go ahead and get the center. That looks good. I'm going to grab the two upper screws next so that the whole body flushes down near the cartridge slot. And there we go. That's all flush. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And that leaves the last two screws. We'll do the upper left corner. And the bottom right corner. Okay. Next thing we need is to see if we actually have the screw for this, the battery door cover. Let me see if they actually gave us a brand new one. Of course, I had a bag full of screws, and then as I was shuffling stuff around, I know I shot it somewhere. I found the screw, but they don't have a screw holder. There's probably a better name for that, but it basically locks in the screw so to the door. That way, when you unscrew it, the screw stays in the door. I have another one here. I'll just take it off one of the previous builds. Sorry, one of the previous shells. This is a feature I want. I want this to stay on the door. That way, when we have to get in here, we're not losing it. We're gonna need a Phillips head for this. All right, so we need to get that to stop spinning. And let's see what tool's gonna be easier for this. I wonder if I could just pry this off. Just using my fingernail to hold it. It's a little challenging, but it's kind of working. I might have a better tool for this, actually. Just trying to grab that thing. It's almost there. There we go. I was able to yank it off. Got a tiny bit bent, but not bad. Just try and bend that back into shape in a second. Ooh. There's just a new thing. I need to learn the tricks for it. You know, it's funny when you work in a business to business world in computers, you don't tell people to fix this stuff. The amount of labor and time that it takes me to do this is just typically not worth it. Um, there we go. That's pressing on. But these old Game Boys, it's a different story. I mean, they don't make these things brand new anymore, so we don't have a choice. We got to fix them. I think that's why I enjoy it so much. It's actually worth it. Okay. Look at that. Almost done. We just need to clean the screens. Fix this gap. What's the deal with that gap? I don't remember that gap being there last time. Okay. Well, we got a little bit of a gapping issue right now that I don't remember seeing last time. So we'll take this thing apart again. See if we can fix that gap. There's some things that'll be a little bit quicker about it this time though. There we go. Take this screw out. And switch to our tri-wing. Sorry, I'm a bit of a perfectionist here. It doesn't make me happy to see gaps that I'm not happy with, so we'll get through it. There's just more stuff I need to remember as I'm building this stuff too. Make sure we mind the gaps. Maybe check them beforehand. Okay. So the gap I'm seeing is on this side of the screen here. Switch back. We're gonna loosen up the motherboard real quick. You know, it surprises me that there's no more screws than the two that are here. All right, let's see if we can. The screen's pretty down. What am I thinking that we want to do here? It would have been nice with these third-party screens. They would have given me like some padding to go behind it. What I might do is cut a piece of double-sided tape. Not much, just a little bit. I have scissors. Where did I put them? If any of you guys tuned into my past streams, this turns into a 2-minute session of where the fuck did I put that, and then I find it, and then we move on. Okay. Let's do roughly the size of the screen. Now, I know that the double-sided tape, I'm not going to do the entirety of this. We're going to, let's see. I'm sorry. We're going to just stick this on one side. It just happens to be the thickest tape that I have right now. No, I'll end up tearing a ribbon cable if I do that. Let's just unclip it. Okay. Sorry, I know this is a little hard to see, but I really want to avoid having to unclip as much of this as I can. So the double-sided tape, I'm just sticking it to the top here, the top half of the screen. That way when this closes down, it should be just enough pressure from the motherboard. Excuse me, just trying to get it all aligned. To get rid of that gap. And it did. Pretty perfect, actually. So yeah, I don't know why. That's just something I need to think of if we're going to do these third-party screens. I got to make sure that I have some good padding on the back of the screen. Just so it fits into the shell properly. I know that's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's like, what? Why couldn't we have done that to begin with? But you know what? It's all good. This is why patient people have jobs like this, and people that aren't as patient decide to pay for the jobs. Just trying to get that bottom ribbon cable back in. Okay, clip the screen back down. Okay. Get everything aligned. I actually went a lot smoother than I thought it would. Okay, so let's get the motherboard screws back in. How long we've been going for? Almost going for an hour. That's not too bad. A little low on viewers tonight, but that's okay. Yeah, if anybody ends up watching and you want to ask me questions during the feed, every once in a while I'll get a little distracted and I miss the messages, but I definitely love answering questions and I'm pretty humble about it, so feel free to ask away. Okay. There we go. That triggers in. A little scratch here. Okay, that triggers in. Let's move the volume all the way. Yeah, we'll keep it to the right. Power button is down. What is struggling to align here? Nothing. Okay. Let's test the volume slider works. The power button works. All right. Let's get some screws in. And then we'll check that gap in between the screen, make sure it all aligns right. And I'm hoping this is the last time we'll need to take this apart tonight. You know what, real quick, make sure we didn't break anything. Green light, 2 screens. Looking good. Okay. Final 2 screws. All right, let's check our gaps before we close any more of it up. That actually looks way more flush than it did before. And that screen is perfect. It was the bottom screen that was giving me problems before. It looks really good. We still need to get this screen. We got to peel off the protective layer to this, and we need to put the lens on it. So that'll be the last thing we do. Okay, let's put this door on. Help if I get the right screwdriver head, and that's Phillips. Okay. This was missing the dust cover when we ended up buying it, which a lot of them do end up missing the dust covers. But you can get third-party dust covers. When it comes in the kit, you just take the skinniest part. There's 1, 2 little nubs sticking up. You just align it properly so that the nubs are going through the PCB. And then, just like any Game Boy cartridge, it just kind of staggers on. So, line up the holes. See how it's slightly off here? There's that gap. And then you just push up. And then we have the screw hole. I can't even say that with a straight face sometimes, because every time I say that, I'm like, and then this shape goes into the square hole. And you guessed it, that one also goes into the square hole. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. It's just, there's this reaction video, this girl watching this video of a child's toy. And the guy just kept fucking with her OCD and putting every shape into one hole that it would fit into. Love it. It's my sense of humor. I have the wrong... Alright. That might have been too long of a screw. I got stopped. I'm pretty sure it's a tri-wing though, so there's got to be a shorter tri-wing, or if it's not, it'll be this Phillips head. Which I'm okay if it's this Phillips head. Yeah, that went all the way in. Okay. Dust cover works. Let me grab a game real quick. Actually, I'll go ahead and grab my DS Pico. That has all my games on it. Start this thing up. Let's see, where's our volume? Turn up volume all the way up. Pull out our stylus. And sound works. Whoops. And let's go ahead and do orange. It's like orange or brown, but I'll take it. It's the closest looking color. It is 6/22. 2026. Confirm. All right, it is 10:17 p.m. Let's just do the month of June, and I'm not picking a day. And it wants to reboot. Okay. No. Let me put in a stock DS game that I have laying around. Womp womp. Well, I thought that was not going to be an issue, but it looks like we're going to have to take this apart one more time. I guess there's not enough solder on those points when I undid it. The cartridge slot. So that sucks. But before we do that, let's go ahead and try a Pokemon cartridge. Let's see. Okay, I think most of the buttons are working. Before I tear this thing apart, let's try everything we can here. Okay, turn it off. Let's try this DS game. Okay, wait a minute. No, that's working. I almost tore this thing apart again. Why is my DS Pico not working? I'm almost wondering if... First of all, while we're in here, we're going to calibrate. So that's good. Let's see, settings. flash. GBA mode. Let's do the touchscreen. If a DS card or game pack, yeah, we'll do manual mode. Go back. Well, if it's just my DS Pico that it doesn't like, I can live with that. System will now shut down. Okay. Oops, that's the wrong way. No, it wasn't. Just make sure it loads a DS game. Okay. Well, that's good. That is working okay. No DS card inserted. Let me test my DS Pico real quick. We'll see if my 3DS has power. My 3DS takes a while to load because I have a 128 gigabyte card in here. That was probably more than these could really handle at the time. So, let's see, we got... Nintendo DS demonstration. I think that's normal. My Pico launcher. Okay. Well, we know that works. So we just need to troubleshoot and figure out why it's not working. And the DS Lite. You know what, though? We're not really going to worry about this too much right this second. This would be a good opportunity for us just to rebuild the new DS Lite. Sorry, the new DS Pico for this DS Lite. Kind of see what's going on there. It plays DS cartridges. It plays Game Boy Advance cartridges. There's not much more we could ask for right now. This thing's working. Let's finish getting the rest of this together. No. I think I just made a small mistake again. Womp womp. I just put a tiny divot into the back of this. Man, I am rushing to get through this and making all kinds of mistakes. Oh well. So we used the wrong screw. We used one that was just a tad bit too long. I just wasn't thinking. So what we'll do is we'll get another one eventually. And you know what? That's okay. We will learn from our mistakes. Just trying to make sure I get all matching threads here. That should be good. I think here's what I'm going to do just so this all blends in a little bit better. Well, first of all, let's make sure we didn't strip that screw hole out. Nope, same diameter, just a little too long. Just so this doesn't completely go to waste, I'll just make the same mistake on the other side. You know, I always hate it when I do stuff like this. Truthfully, I'm just blaming it on just being exhausted and making mistakes. It's not a great excuse, but it is realistic. Shouldn't do this stuff when you're tired, but I'm choosing to. So, you know, and that really doesn't look terrible. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it to the bottom ones also. And like I said, I'll end up ordering a replacement for this eventually. Just because I'm a perfectionist. But in the meantime, what I'll probably end up doing is painting over this. I think this would be a good one to paint over. And I don't have to take this entire thing apart again in order to fix this. So all I need to do is unplug these, slide off the back plate, put a new one on, and we're done. Yeah, it kind of blends in a little bit. There's just 4 white dots on there now. I mean, if anything, it kind of just looks like there's screws in there. Not that big of a deal, but like I said, I'm a perfectionist. I can't stand that I just did that. So, all good. You'll learn. I think I was just overexcited to get this whole thing done and just didn't think about it. Where's my tweezers? There we go. You. This one was just stuck to the bag instead of the paper. You know, and I do really have to attest to eXtremeRate on this. I have taken this thing apart and put it back together at least 4 or 5 times minimum. None of the screw holes have stripped at all. It is, except for that last mistake I made, it has held up extremely well. So, hats off to eXtremeRate for making a product that can keep up with my my silly ass. eXtremeRate, if you ever not necessarily sponsor me, I'm not looking for like a paid sponsorship, but if you ever wanted to send me some stuff so that I could show people that I could screw it up and it'll still work at the end of it, I might give your product a pretty good name. I would be more than happy to take on projects for you guys, and I'd enjoy doing it. But I imagine I need to get my viewers up and for you guys to be interested in that, so I totally get it. Okay, got those side bumpers in. I love that they give me 2 sets of each, though. I mean, if I end up getting a new backplate for this, if I could find just a backplate, I could redo all these parts since they were nice enough to send 2 sets of them. You know, I'm starting to think that I'm just their demographic and they know this. No, you know, and I'm just really kidding about this whole thing. I don't beat myself up this much. This is all in fun. Uh, I'm totally good with making mistakes. It's you gotta correct the mistakes when you make them, though. You can't just give somebody a half-ass product. It's just that what you do is you keep doing this stuff till you get good enough at it and you're not making mistakes. That's when you actually start making money doing it. That's what it was like for IT stuff when it came to my IT career. Luckily, I never cost my companies or anybody else a lot of money with my IT career. That one was a little easier for me. Like I said, it was never worth the money for me to sit here and repair products like this. It's just in IT for business to business world, you just spend money and replace stuff and get it done as quickly as possible. I hope I'm supposed to take this screen off. Yeah. Come on. There we go. Screen protector off. Okay. So, screen protector's off. We need to clean that screen very well. Where the hell? Alright, let's try and do it with some Q-tips and some rubbing alcohol here. just a little bit. Yeah, see, we're getting fuzzies on the screen that way. I definitely need something to get these fuzzies off the screen. I think I actually have something for a screen protector. Let me double check that real quick. I think I found some for a cell phone screen protector. Those little sticky pads that DS Lite screen protectors. That's good. Doesn't seem to be in this bin. Doesn't seem to be in this bin. Third bin's the turn. Yep, it's in the third bin. There we go. The dust absorbers. That is a little too sticky though. Yeah, but it worked. I am super picky about having dust specks on my screen. I cannot stand that. That looks pretty good. If I can figure out where to get some sticky stuff like that, that is reusable, that would be amazing. I would absolutely love that. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm thinking we made a tiny mistake here. It looks like, I'm not sure if we did make a tiny mistake actually. There should be a layer that comes off on here. Bear with me while I, last time I actually pulled this layer off. Let me see if there's an easier way to do this. This thing will not come off. There we go. All right, we're gonna put that down for now. I think I was supposed to put this double-sided tape on first, but we're gonna see if we can work our way around that. We're gonna cut little strips here, and we are gonna get this done without taking this apart again, and it's gonna work right. I'm not even worried about that. Just bear with me. We're gonna be patient here, and we're gonna get this done right. We're going to make sure that this screen sticks perfectly. Good. I'm sorry, it's not even the screen, it's the lens to the screen. Just taking my time. I don't want to stick this thing to the screen. I don't want to scratch the screen. I don't want the double-sided tape to go over. Over the plastic at all. I also want all the edges sealed up. Okay. That's looking good. Okay, we got 2 out of the 4 sides done. Just make sure that's pressed down better. This is looking good so far. We're not going over anything that would show it all. Now, this probably is not the recommended way that eXtremeRate wanted us to do this, by the way. I've been talking about them, so I want to make sure that I'd make that clear. But doing it this way shouldn't be frowned upon. It's a little bit more difficult and doesn't make it as easy, but the lens is going to stick properly. And we're taking our time to make sure that we don't have any unwanted gaps or any dust that's going to get through. Okay, we got our 3rd strip down. Okay, 1 more strip. Okay. Oops. Get that off there. And get it off my finger. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's our final snip there. Okay. Now, let's test fit the screen filter here. And I just want to make sure I don't see any white coming through, which I don't, so I'm very happy with that. Okay, so let's take off these white strips. We'll try that one from the other side. There we go. 2 more strips to go. Okay. Let's go one more round with this dust remover. Where's my Q-tip? Get some more alcohol. I see a couple spots on there that are bothering me. And I think that's as clean as it's gonna get. So let's go ahead and take off the bottom film here. Okay. And here we go. I'm gonna keep this dust absorber. I'm just trying to firmly press this down. Of course, with not doing any damage to the screen. Let's go ahead and turn that on. And we should be able to take off that protector. And that's looking real good. Man, I'm really glad I took my time on that one. If only I would have taken my time on the the back panel there with the screws. Yeesh. That's all right. Okay. So I do have screen protectors for these also. Um, we'll end up installing some screen protectors on there. Let's get these last two bumpers in behind those screws. Tweezers. There we go. Now these do seem to have more of a flatter side to them. It looks like this bottom side here is a bit flatter. And that typically goes down here towards the bottom of the unit, or facing towards the bottom of the unit. So we'll go ahead and pop that in there. Now I'm being very careful not to poke these rubbers. It's they'll kind of look like shit if you end up poking a hole in them. So we'll just carefully use the back end of our tweezers here to get these in where they need to go. There we go. So that doesn't look bad to me. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. Especially with all the mistakes that were made, all the mess ups, and just having a dead DS Lite there for a minute. I really can't ask for much more than this. We learned a lot from it. We were able to restore more than we ever have before on these units. You know, we got past a broken ribbon cable. We got past busted capacitors. Replaced this thing with brand new screens. It just, I pretty much learned everything I need to learn off this, I think. We'll always find something new, I'm sure, but we went through the rough of it there. So let's get some screen protectors on this. That'll make me feel better. Eventually, when I start selling these things, make some money back after my little projects, I'll go ahead and, I'm sorry, what was I saying? I'll go ahead and oh, these are one each package. I get it. It'll just help me start some new projects in the future, is what I was getting at. Okay. So we got back and front. Which one's which? Are they both the same? Nope, one's slightly bigger than the other. Okay. Well, this is relatively untouched. But slightly touched. Where'd my Q-tip go? Oh, here it is. You know. Okay. Sorry, being a bit of perfectionist here. I can't stand, I really can't stand little marks on this stuff. Okay. I have a feeling this thing just has so many little dots under it. Yeah, Jesus. I don't know if I'm happy with these screen protectors. I've never seen that before. I just dusted the hell out of this thing. These are like cheap ass little screen protectors that I got off AliExpress, and I am not happy with this company. Yeah, man, that sucks. I'd rather go with no screen protector at this point. There's just oh, you could just see all those little there's like specks of dust under that, and I just peeled the back sticker off of it. That is absolutely insane. Yeah, screw it. I'm not even. I wonder if you could see that on the camera. It looks nice and clean, right? But there is. You can't. I could see it with my eye, but you can't see it with the camera. There is just fur all over this thing, and it was completely sealed a second ago. Yeah, those things suck. The good news is there's really no reason to touch the top screen, so let's see if we have better luck with the bottom screen one. If I can figure out where the hell I just dropped it. Oh, nope, that's not dropped. All right. So I heard this is kind of a preference thing. This really doesn't bother me. Um, but I heard that the third party touch lenses for the DS Lites are this matte. I mean, it is matte. I can tell that for sure. Um, but I heard, some people prefer not to have a matte screen protector. I'm sorry, not a screen protector, a matte lens. I'm actually really worried that this one's just going to be just as bad too. Before I peel this off, I'm just trying to see what this looks like underneath. I'm hoping this one's not as bad. I'm not touching it. I'm peeling it off. Not even going anywhere near it. Please don't have any specs. There's air bubbles, but I don't know if I see any specs in it yet. There's like one. Fuck. I mean, you guys saw how meticulous I was with this. I got this bright light on it. I can make sure that there's no. I'd be able to see every speck of dust on there. That really sucks. You know, it's hit or miss with AliExpress so far. I'd say about 80% of the things I buy off AliExpress have been good products, actually. The Cameron Sino batteries, I mean, you don't just buy those off AliExpress, but those things have worked out really well for me so far. Dude, this fucking protector has a gouge in it. Ugh. So, yeah, those are just a waste of money. Yeah, these look so bad. I'd rather just go without. I was just trying to take that extra step, make sure that everything we do has, you know, good quality, good lasting quality to it. Let's see if I can just pull it off with the sticky cup. Nope, won't even let me pull it off with the sticky cup now. Jesus. Right now, I'm just trying not to put a gouge in the screen. There we go. These things are crap. Don't buy these flimsy pieces of junk off AliExpress. The Gorilla Glass ones now, or not the Gorilla Glass, but the tempered glass ones that I get for the Game Boy Advances, haven't had a single problem with those. I buy those off AliExpress, no issues. But those flimsy ones, yeah, never buying those again. Perfect. So we are done with the physical build. Just to recap, we got a brand new shell. We got brand new top and bottom screens. Not IPS, but you know, they're good quality working screens. No dead pixels or anything like that. We did a new shell from eXtremeRate. We did Type-C charger. And we did a brand new Cameron Sino battery. So this thing is as good as new. All the buttons work. The last thing we're going to do is a DS Pico setup. And I'm going to kind of rush through this because I've had other videos where I've done DS Pico setups. The Smoking Barrel Tavern. This is a DS Lite. So yeah, just not the big blocky DS before it. So yeah, to finish this off, we're going to do a DS Pico. And let me grab one real quick. So I do have another video where I pretty much ran through all the steps on how to set up a DS Pico. So this time I'm just kind of speed run it and throw just a couple games that I own on there. Bear with me a second. I gotta find my micro SD cards that I have laying around. If you ever tune in to any of my stuff, I spend 5 minutes playing where the fuck did I put that? So bear with me. I could have sworn I put these towards the front somewhere. Or did I put them on the desk? It's one of those things I just need to prep for my streams a little bit better. Okay. Battery. Now I could have sworn that I put SD cards in this specific container. Now I'm thinking there's a chance that I pulled it out to prep for the stream, and I just ended up losing it on my desk. That's a very realistic possibility, actually. There. Well, that's no fun. That's okay. We'll get this working tonight. I got one laying around that I know of. It's just going to irritate me that I can't find the others. So there's one SD card that we have. Checking one more place here before I format that one. That's the funny part. I just had them the other night too. Tools. Nope. That's all right. We'll find them. Likely, I just got to find them under these many bags of DS Lite parts that I have laying around. All right. I don't like the spelling of this, so I'm probably going to butcher the name, but I think this is Chiscart, or it might even be Chriscart, even though there's no R. The official DS Pico is by the L&H team. It uses a Pico chip. What is the chip called again? It was a Pico 2025 chip. It actually should say, except you can't really read it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if we're going to be able to... Oh. It's the light. I'm sorry, I can't read that. I'll find out what that is later. Maybe I'll put it in my notes or something. But it's a Pico chip, like a Raspberry Pi Pico chip. So there's a couple things we need to know about this. There's two different types of firmware. There's one that works on DS's and DS Lites. And then there's another piece of firmware that works on DSi's, which was the upgrade to the DS, and 2DS's and 3DS's. So I just, the one that I had in my 3DS, I just tried it on here and it wouldn't even see it. So we're going to try the lesser of the firmwares real quick. Let me switch to my desktop. There we go. And I have a little USB cable here that's hooked up to my computer. So we're plugging this, it comes in two versions. It comes in a micro USB and it even comes in a more modern Type-C connection. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in and hook it up to the computer. There's no micro SD card in here yet. We don't want to do that. So let me grab the mouse here. Let's see. This is my my quick setup folder. We'll open up a couple of these real quick. Let's see, split it. By the way, I'm on Linux. Sorry, it's not Windows. I know a lot of people use that, but I got bored with it being a technician, so now I run Linux. If I get enough viewers eventually and people are requesting it, I'll definitely I'll do some Windows tutorials too. But it's really the same thing. Once you plug this in on a Windows machine, Mac machine, Linux machine, you get a little thumb drive icon for RPI-RP2. All we have to do is download the correct firmware. So there's the DS Pico hybrid firmware. This is the one that works with DS Lites and DS's. And then there's a DS Pico WRFUXXED firmware. That one is the one that's supposed to, you know what? Let's make sure I'm correct on that. Let's see here. I might actually have this backwards. Let me double check that. The DS Pico firmware. There's a really good website for this called Flashcart Guides. It's sanrax.github.io/flashcart-guides. I'll drag it on screen here. That way you guys can actually see the address here. Pause the video if you have to rewatch it, get it there. Okay, hybrid firmware. The DS Pico hybrid firmware only supports the original DS and DS Lite. Okay, so I was correct. Really simple. In order to flash the DS Pico, all you have to do is download the firmware file, which we already have, and drag it over to the card. Copy here, and then patiently wait. When it flashes it, it will actually eject the card for you and then reload it. That is it. As you can see, it just ejected, and right now it came back. It's going to give me the option to mount and open it on Linux, but I'm not going to do that. I just want to keep it ready to eject. And I will go ahead and unplug that. All right. Next part to this is we need a micro SD. Wow. Excuse me. Micro SD USB adapter. We'll plug that in. Now this one's probably going to try and mount because there's something on it, but we're going to do this one from scratch. So I'm going to open up a partition manager on this computer. Let's see, partition. All right, I'll drag my partition manager over. So all we want to do is make sure that we select our micro SD card. We're throwing a 32 gig in here, which is more than enough to get the entire Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS library on there. You could probably even throw in the Game Boy and Game Boy Color library all on a 32 gigabyte card, from what I've seen. We want to delete the partition. I'm going to go ahead and apply that so that we're working with a blank partition. And press OK. And then what we want to do is create a new partition. For this to work, it has to be a FAT32 partition. Nothing else will work. exFAT doesn't work, only FAT32. We'll put a label on it. We'll call it DS Pico. And we'll press OK. And apply. Give that a second. Okay. So how I'm going to speed run this is we're going to mount this real quick. We'll press OK. We can close our partition manager because we're done with it. And what we'll do is we'll load up our DS Pico, which you can see on the side here. That's a DS Pico micro SD card. It's blank. That's to be expected. So what we'll do is I have a special setup folder here, and I'll quickly go over this. But we need to load up the picoboot.nds file. So we'll copy that over. We're going to need the underscore Pico folder also. Okay. Now, you'll notice I have an underscore GBA folder. This is to load the Game Boy Advance emulator. There's also going to be a Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulator on here. What you would do is you'd have to download those emulators and you would put them into the underscore Pico folder under emulators. There's a GameYob.nds, which is for Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulation. And then there's the GBA Runner 3.nds file for Game Boy Advance emulation. I know that DS Lite can play Game Boy Advance games, from the cartridge slot, but when you're loading them off the DS slot, it has to be emulated. The other way around this, if you didn't want to run an emulator, is to get a Game Boy Advance compatible flash cartridge. But to me, I'm just like, I'd rather, it actually runs pretty damn well off the emulator. I haven't had a single problem myself. So I'd rather just load it all onto one single cartridge. What's the next step here? So after you copy the emulator files over, the Game Boy Advance one needs a little something extra. You need a Game Boy Advance BIOS on this, which is stored in the underscore GBA folder. The Game Boy Advance BIOS, there's a way to extract that from the Game Boy Advance slot. You need a special tool for that. You're not supposed to have it, but you could figure it out how to download it. I'm not going to go over that on my channel, unfortunately. The other option you could do is actually, even though you're not supposed to do this also, you could just go find a bios.bin file online for a Game Boy Advance. I'm just telling you it's possible. I'm not condoning any type of piracy. If you own a Game Boy Advance or a DS Lite like this, I don't see what the big deal is. But obviously, if I show you guys how to do that kind of stuff, they could consider it piracy, and then I may not be able to have a channel anymore. So, sorry. I wish I could, but I'm going to refrain from that. Sorry. Let's copy over the underscore GBA folder. Okay. So the last part of getting these emulators to run is you actually have to modify your settings.json file. And in this settings.json file, it has file associations. Now, this does have to be in proper JSON format, which you have to, if you're not sure what that's like, you might want to look that up. But you can see we have file associations for .gba, .gbc, and .gb. Those are your ROM files for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. And all they do is point directly to the .nds files for the emulators. Once you save that, your emulators should function properly. The next thing I do is I start creating folders for, let's see, Game Boy. Let's see, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. Create new folder. You could just do DS or you could do NDS. I think NDS might actually be more appropriate. Now I've shown games that I own on stream. Again, I don't condone piracy. But I've shown these games before. I own these games physically. I could put them on stream anytime I want to. So you guys are going to laugh at this one, but this is my test cartridge because I got it for free when I was buying Nintendo DSs. This is Imagine Ballet Star. So yeah, I have that. I actually don't own a lot of DS games right now. I own more 3DS games than I own DS games. I'm working on building up my collection there, so we'll work with what we got for right now. But we'll go ahead and start copying some of these ROM files that I own onto here. So there's a Nintendo DS. Excuse me. Let's do a Game Boy Advance. You've watched me back up my girlfriend's copy of Pokemon Sapphire. I also am a huge Legend of Zelda fan. And there's a .save file. I'll actually show you what to do with that in just a second. So let's copy over these two games real quick. Okay. And for the hell of it, let's copy over a Game Boy Color game. Again, I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan. So mostly that's what I own is Legend of Zelda and Pokemon games. And I own Pokemon games because my girlfriend's super into them and wanted a way to relate, and I've actually been enjoying it myself, so I don't know why I didn't play Pokemon games as much when I was a kid. Game Boy Advance. Oh, sorry, I already got those. What do we want next? Game Boy games. And I own a couple Game Boy games, but we'll put Tetris on there. That is my girlfriend's favorite game. Well, she might like Pokemon more, but she loves Tetris, so. Okay, so that's it. We got some games on there. Let's go ahead and safely eject the cartridge. Sorry, not cartridge, micro SD card. And we'll pull that out. We'll pop it into the DS Pico. And then we'll pop it into our DS Lite. Turn it on. And hope it actually starts up, unlike my other one. And there we go. We have our DS Pico. We just launched that. And let's see if we can see that menu there. So you could see the underscore GB folder. Um, sorry, that's underscore GBA, which if I was showing the top screen, there you go. So you see what's going on the top screen. Let's load, first of all, let's load a Nintendo DS game. And it does show the artwork. There are better themes out there. I actually like the DS Classic theme the best. In fact, maybe if I got a couple more minutes here, what we'll do is go over that real quick. I don't really want to play this game, but let's go ahead and show that the Game Boy Advance actually works on this. So, very cool stuff. Huge fan of the DS Pico. It loads very fast. A lot of people were just running what is it called? Twilight Plus Plus on here. I take all that stuff off and just run DS Picos now. So no save file. So yeah, let's go over a couple things. Let's go over changing a theme, and then let's also go over loading custom save files that you might extract from your Game Boy Advance cartridges or Game Boy. So let's turn that off real quick. And let's eject our DS cartridge. Eject the micro SD card. Plug it in. And let's load that DS Pico cartridge again. So your themes, you can download them offline, and they would be in your underscore Pico folder. Themes. And you know what? We don't even have it on here. Let's see if I downloaded it before. It's where did I put that? It should be under setup underscore Pico themes. I guess I didn't put it in there. Okay. That's no problem. So if you go back to this Flashcarts website that I was talking about, Flashcart Guides, great website. If you just scroll down on the DS Pico setup at the bottom here, they'll actually show you, there's two things that you would want to look into. Is one, Pico covers, which I've already generated for all the games that I own. And then themes repository is what we want. You can create your own. I haven't actually explored that yet. That might be something that I do later on. But DS Classic is my favorite theme so far. So we'll download the DS Classic theme. What do you know? There it is. Well, let's pretend we just downloaded it because I already have it. And that should be in the DS Pico folder. There we go, DS Classic. So I'm going to extract that entire folder into the themes folder. And there we go. We have our DS Classic folder. We're going to go back and we're going to edit our settings.json file. And right here under themes, you'll see it defaulted to material. All we have to do is type in DS Classic and press save. All right, next time we boot in, that should be the DS Classic theme. And it'll look just like a DS menu, which is really nice. Covers. Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS covers. What you have to do, excuse me one second, pull up a browser again, is you want to go to this Pico covers web link that they have here. What you do is you get all of your ROMs that you own, and you press get started. And then what you do is you start dragging and dropping all your Nintendo DS and .gba ROMs into this website. You would press the select ROM files. It would verify how many there are. And then you would say, I think it says something like generate covers. and it'll put together all the covers for you into a zip file. Once you have that zip file, which looks a lot like, you know what? I don't think I have my zip file. That's okay. What you would do is you would extract the zip file into underscore Pico covers. And in that zip file is going to be these two folders full of GBA covers and Nintendo DS covers. The GBA covers, they have these funky names, and I'm not sure how that works. I'll have to look into it. But these 4-letter names are what matches up to the actual game covers in the DS Pico. That's why we need that website to generate it for us. It just takes all the hard work out of it for you. So we got covers and we just loaded up a new theme. Let's go ahead and eject the card. Let's go back to a desktop view. We'll go ahead and pull the card out, plug it back into the DS Pico, plug that back in. We'll start it up. Touch any part of the screen, load up our DS Pico. And like I said, this is a much nicer theme in my opinion. We can also change, well, you can change how these are displayed. So you can get the full covers on the bottom. You can get a detailed view, which I don't like too much. Whoops. Go back to Game Boy Advance. I'm actually more of a fan of this one right here. Let's go to the DS games. The Nintendo DS games actually load a little icon. I thought they did better covers too, to be honest with you. No, that one doesn't have a cover file for some reason. You know what? It's probably because I don't admit that I have this game usually. I don't think I added that to my list of covers, to be honest with you. I'm sorry I don't have any more DS games to show off right now, but it would actually give you a bunch of tiles with graphics on them and then a full cover picture. The full cover picture would be like these Game Boy Advance covers. I don't think it does covers for the Game Boy Color games, unfortunately. One cool thing, though, about playing a Game Boy game on here is they do add kind of a cool border around it, like some custom artwork for the games. And as you can see, it loads right up. I know what I was going to show you guys. Crap. Let's do something here. By the way, pressing left and right on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulator gives you a submenu on the bottom screen, allowing you to exit out of it. Oh. Let's see. You can load into another game right from that menu. Or we'll do left and right again. You can quit the launcher, and then it'll take you right back to the DS Pico launcher. So let's load up a Game Boy Advance game because I have some save files for that. I think just starting a new game is enough to load up a save file. Okay, let's go ahead and shut that off real quick. And we're going to eject the card, eject the micro SD, plug that in, switch to my desktop view for you guys. Go into our micro SD card. Yeah, okay. You know what? It does save. It puts a .sav file right next to the game. They just have to be named the exact same thing. Pokemon Sapphire version. Pokemon Sapphire version. Okay. So let me go in here and grab my girlfriend's save from her early 20s, which is really cool. We'll override that. Eject it again. Let's switch to my workbench view. Plug everything back in. Start it up. And you know, this really isn't that big of a deal once you get the hang of it. I mean, it's really quick to load save files. Let's load up Pokemon Sapphire. Try and get started through this. Womp womp. Okay. What am I missing here? It's a possibility I don't have my girlfriend's save game there. Let me try it one more time. I really want to get that working for you guys. Like I said, once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad, but obviously I'm still getting the hang of it. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Documents, ROMs, Game Boy Advance, P for Pokemon. Let's go ahead and load up my DS Pico card, Game Boy Advance. I'm going to delete both these files. Ooh, you know what? There might be a different place that this is saved, and that might be my problem. Let's copy over. Let's go to underscore Pico. No, there's no save file here. No, not in the configs folder. I'm pretty sure it's actually just right next to the game on the DS Pico. I kind of get my flashcards messed up here. Let's try this one more time. If not, I'll try one more thing after this if this doesn't work. Okay. I own a lot of other games for Game Boy Advance, as you could see from my personal library, but I don't have time to show them all on stream. I'm doing the best I can here. Like I said, though, I don't care what you guys do. None of my business. All right, loading up the DS Pico. Let's see, Game Boy Advance, Pokemon Sapphire. Please load the save game this time. There we go. So there she is. That's my girlfriend's file. Player Amy. 167 hours when she was a kid. Well, early 20s. And that loaded right in. And that was extracted from her cartridge. How I do that? Let me show it to you guys. I have this nifty Game Boy Flash cartridge utility. Takes the Game Boy Advance cartridge. You load up Flash GB software on your computer, and it's really simple. You just connect the card, and it gives you options to not only extract the ROM, so you can back up your game and then put it on a DS Pico, but it also allows you to extract a save file. You can get these on AliExpress for roughly around 20-25 bucks. If you have a large library, I highly recommend you get one of these. Especially if you need to change the battery on Game Boy Advance Pokemon games. The Game Boy Advance ones, if the battery dies, it holds your save file. It just will not write to the save any longer after that until you upgrade or change out the battery. But when you change out the battery, if you make any mistakes, you have a chance of wiping out your save file. So before I changed her battery, which I had to do recently, backed up her save file. That's why I have it on my computer, and swapped over the watch battery for her. So uh, just take the precautions if you're going to do stuff like that. Make sure you educate yourself on it. Game Boy and Game Boy Advance cartridges, Game Boy Color cartridges, they have different voltages, so you have to make sure that you're selecting in the software the correct cartridge type. Otherwise, you run the risk of possibly corrupting data or losing your save files. But all kinds of fun stuff. I'm an amateur at this stuff at best. I just wanted to show you guys the cool stuff that you can get into if you have the patience for it. Um, I can do enough damage to get by and make sure everything works, but some of you guys that are just tuning in, this took me 3 nights to complete this damn project. I had a fully working motherboard, and when I installed the aftermarket bottom screen, I didn't realize that it was bare metal on the back of it and ended up popping a capacitor. So this was the first time that I ever did micro soldering to fix the capacitor on here. But even though I screwed it up, I was able to fix it. So even with all my mistakes, which I do live, I never edit it. I just want you guys to see that stuff and feel better about taking chances of doing this yourself. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is have patience. Take breaks if you need to. Otherwise, you'll just end up breaking more shit. I've done that plenty of times. And I really look forward to doing more streams. I'm going to probably call it quits for the night. Do I have any more projects coming up? I need to clean some Game Boy cartridges, replace some batteries. I have like 3 or 4 of them I have to do in one night. So that's probably just going to be a quick night coming up. I have one more DS motherboard that was pretty broken. One of the touchscreen sensor flex cable receptacle is really damaged. So I tried to replace that. I'm not sure if it worked yet. I need to test that motherboard and actually apply the fixes one night. I tried to do that at the beginning of this stream. Well, sorry, 2 streams ago, this project. But I didn't have enough patience to sit there and test it with you guys because I really wanted to get this one done. So this is finally a completed project after 3 nights. I'm really happy about it. It was a lot of fun doing this. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please follow me. Maybe catch some of my other streams. Always feel free to talk to me. I love talking to you guys when you want to talk. And I definitely appreciate the views that I got tonight. You all have a good night. Thank you very much.